Magandang umaga, Filipinas. Good morning from Canada. I'm Thomas I. Lightness, reporting from our Eagle News studio in the western Canadian province of Alberta. I'm in the city of Edmonton, and we're bringing you news from across the country. Well, it's Tuesday morning, time to get at it, and we have a lot going on in Canada today that I want to tell you about. We've got updates from across the country. So before we do that, let's get that second cup of coffee now. Remember, mine is black. I think we've got enough for a couple of cups of 3-in-1 there. You've got it? Okay, good. Now sit back and let's relax. First, a look at the weather across Canada. Our street scene today comes from Vancouver. And thank you to Shirley Arlena. Shirley, thank you for this street scene. Looks great in Vancouver there. Blue sky, but they got a bit of rain a little bit earlier today, I understand. Well, it's Vancouver, so it always rains. It always rains there. Skies are the same in Alberta, though. Mixture of sun and cloud. It's cloudy right now in Edmonton. I think it was raining just before I went on the air here. We got up to 17 degrees today in Edmonton. Down in Calgary, it was 13. Saskatoon at 15. Regina, the hot spot, got up to 20 degrees today. Both cities reporting mostly sunny skies. Move eastward to Winnipeg, 17 degrees. Toronto got up to 13 today. 12 in the nation's capital of Ottawa. Montreal, cloudy and 8. And a mixture of sun and clouds across the Atlantic provinces. You know, it's chilly there today with the temperatures in just the 4-degree range. And I want to tell you something about the Atlantic provinces. You know, when it's summertime there, it's either July or August. It's 2 months. That's it. Springtime is pretty cool. The only summer temperatures you're going to get there are in July and August. I've been there in May and early June, and it's cold. You get down around that 4-degree range. So a very, very short summer in the Atlantic provinces. Some of the stories we're covering today, Canada's 2 biggest provinces and the hardest hit by COVID-19 have unveiled their plans on just how the economy is going to be restarted. Quebec has the most cases in the country at more than 24,000. Ontario, nearly 15,000 cases. We'll also tell you about Canada's wage subsidy program. It's accepting applications now, and that means some people might get back to their jobs as early as next week. What's this? Evacuation orders have been issued in Fort Mcmurray, Alberta. Flooding up there. And we've got a good news story for you from BC. It's an act of kindness that it just keeps going. It's like that Energizer bunny. It just keeps going. All right. Today, Quebec Premier François Legault announced elementary schools and daycares in the province will reopen on May the 11th for those that are outside the city of Montreal. Now, inside Montreal, those schools will reopen 8 days later on May the 19th. That long weekend, that's why they reopen on a Tuesday. Now, attendance is not going to be mandatory. And again, this is just for elementary schools and daycares. Legault has said going without school for 5 or 6 months is just too long for young children. And he says, you know, young kids are the least likely to get the infection, so let's get them back in the classroom. What about older students, though? Well, those attending high school, college, or university will have to wait until late August. Now, if things were to suddenly get worse, Legault says his plans will change. At his news conference today, Legault said, and these are his words, life must go on. He says tomorrow he'll be announcing a plan to allow some businesses in Quebec to reopen. Now, we move westward 1 province to Ontario, and by comparison, that province's premier, Doug Ford, well, he's just taking baby steps in his plan to reopen the province. Ford today announced a 3-phase strategy, but there are no dates attached to the plan.
The framework is about how we're reopening, not when we're reopening. And let me be crystal clear. As long as this virus remains a threat to Ontario, we will continue to take every precaution necessary. We will continue to act based on the best advice available to us. No one wants the economy to open up more than I do, but we can't take anything for granted. We can't take unnecessary risks because we've seen around the world that all it takes is one person. If precautions are not taken, one person infected with this virus can spread it to hundreds of others.
All right, in the first stage, the province will consider opening select workplaces that can meet current public health guidelines. And that would be things like social distancing. If they required PPE, the business would have to have it. The first phase will also allow essential gatherings of a limited number of people. They'll also open some outdoor spaces, maybe golf courses. And of course, there'd be continued protections for the vulnerable populations. We go to phase two, and again, remember, there's no timelines with these. There's no timelines. But when they get around to doing this, phase two will allow more workplaces to open and larger gatherings. But you're not going to see those huge concerts, sports events, or anything like that. The final stages will see all workplaces open, and restrictions will be relaxed on public gatherings. That's going to be a long time in the future. I'll tell you that right now. It's going to be a long time in the future. Now, Ford says for any plan to go into effect, the province has to see a decrease in the number of new cases over a 2 to 4 week period.
But progress doesn't mean we can quit now. And that's why I won't set hard dates until we're ready, because the virus travels at its own speed. We must ensure our plans for reopening the economy reflect Ontario's unique situation. They must be responsible, they must be measured, and they must be guided by our Chief Medical Officer of Health, our command table, and our health experts.
Now, Ford says he's not going to cave to public pressure. You heard him right there saying public health experts are going to be his guide. And he says he wishes things could move faster. He says he sympathizes with what people are going through.
And I know how hard it has been for people. I hear and see the struggles every single day. Children walking by the playground, hoping they can play on the swings. Many sons and daughters seeing a loved one only through a window. Mothers and fathers dreaming of embracing their children for the first time in months. Grandparents aching to hold their first newborn grandchild. We're all missing birthdays, religious celebrations, and once-in-a-lifetime milestones. These are all too real. A painful loss of memories and moments taken away by this deadly virus.
This deadly virus. I think he sums it up right there. Ford stresses that it's important that he get it right the first time. He doesn't want to have to go through this again. And unlike his Quebec counterpart, he's going to exercise some caution. Well, what does the Prime Minister think about all this? Let's listen to the thoughts of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau.
Normal is something that is a long way off for all of us. And if we want life to get back to the way it was exactly before, it won't. There will be differences, even a few years from now, that we will have learned from dealing with this global pandemic that I think will be important lessons. As we move forward over the coming months, we will be able to see careful reopenings in certain sectors of the economy, certain things being allowed as people try to get back to something a little more like normal. But until we have a vaccine for COVID-19 or a system of treatments that are equivalent to a vaccine, where we can be sure that people will not, will not have COVID-19 be as lethal as it is now, we are going to have to be very careful. That caution will remain, because at any time, if we loosen our measures too much, we could find ourselves back in a tremendous spike. Historians remember from the 1918 Spanish flu epidemic that the spring was pretty bad, but the fall was much worse. We need to stay vigilant every step of the way. And that's what we're focused on, so that this disruption to our economy, to our lives, that is difficult to go through right now, will not have been for nothing. and we will continue to keep ourselves safe for the coming months.
Some very sobering words to think about. The numbers for Canada, more than 47,000 cases, more than 2,600 deaths. Coming up in a moment, we'll have some news about the federal government's wage subsidy, so stay tuned for that. You're watching Eagle News from Canada.
This program is presented by
SMC Infrastructure, building a better world.
Co-presented by Canrib Corporation, your ventilation and air conditioning specialist. Vita Herbs Philippines Green Coffee, masarap, mabango, at healthy pa. Kubert Industries Incorporated, Trading and Services, the cooling expert. In participation with Rain or Shine Elastomeric Waterproofing Paint, color for protection for your home. Matimco. Matimco is wood. Wood is Matimco. R Square Variables Incorporated, your trusted UPS supplier and UPS maintenance provider in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. CompuZell Computer Services, ID card and lanyard manufacturer. DN Steel. EMAC UPVC Roof Corporation.
The Bulacan Bulk Water Project is a treatment facility that will provide bulk water to the 24 municipalities of Bulacan to meet the increasing water demand of its residents. Through concessionaire, SMC Infrastructure also initiated the significant improvements of the Manila North Harbor Port, the country's busiest port.
Accurate and fair reporting. Not only from Batanes to Tawi-Tawi, but also abroad. Detailed and timely stories relevant to people all over the world. Catch all of these at Net25, your reliable source of news, entertainment, and technology updates.
COVID-19 is an infectious disease caused by a new coronavirus introduced to humans for the first time. It is spread from person to person, mainly through the droplets produced when an infected person speaks, coughs, or sneezes. These droplets can land in the mouths or noses of people who are nearby. These droplets are too heavy to travel far in the air. They only travel approximately 1 meter and quickly settle on surfaces. This is the reason person-to-person spread is happening mainly between close contacts. The exact time that the virus can survive on surfaces is not yet known. So it is wise to clean surfaces regularly, particularly in the vicinity of people infected with COVID-19. Hands touch many surfaces, which can be contaminated with the virus. You should therefore avoid touching your eyes, nose, or mouth, since contaminated hands can transfer the virus from the surface to yourself. When coughing or sneezing, cover your mouth and nose with the bend of your elbow or use a disposable tissue. If a tissue is used, discard it immediately into a closed bin. The most effective way to prevent the spread of the new coronavirus is to clean your hands frequently with an alcohol-based hand rub or soap and water. This will eliminate the virus if it is on your hands. Stay healthy and prevent the spread of COVID-19.
You're watching Eagle News Canada Mornings. I'm Thomas I. Likeness. In other news today from Canada, the federal government's wage subsidy program has proven to be very popular with businesses. Now, this was just launched well, it would have been yesterday your time, because that would have been Monday morning. But you know, within a few hours of it being launched, 10,000 businesses signed up. Hundreds of thousands of more are expected to apply. And Prime Minister Trudeau says this program will preserve jobs.
It is really important for restoring our economic activity to full potential as quickly as possible that ideally people stay connected to their jobs, that they stay connected with their employers. And that's why we're facilitating a wage subsidy up to 75%, that is up to $847 a week, that will go through the employers so that people can stay on the payroll and stay connected to their job so they have confidence that they'll have that job when we have time, when we're at the time to come back as an economy.
Well, many workers are expected to be called back to their jobs as early as next week, so we'll wait for that to happen. Now, mental health has been one of the most consistent undercurrents of discussion around the impacts of the country's COVID pandemic. What did I mean by that? How are people feeling? How is the mental health of Canadians faring? To what extent have the job losses, the illnesses, uncertainty, self-isolation, all of that stuff, how has that affected the emotional and psychological well-being of Canadians? How are they bearing up? And what are they feeling? Well, we turn to the Angus Reid Institute. The Angus Reid Institute is a non-profit organization. They do all kinds of random surveys on all kinds of issues. Their findings on this survey: half of Canadians report a worsening of their mental health, and 1 in 10 says it has worsened a lot. Asked to describe how they have been feeling in recent weeks, 44% of Canadians say they're likely to be worried, 41% say they're anxious, 30%, get this, 30%, they're bored. Almost 1/3 say they're grateful. I guess they're enjoying the time off. You all recall the community of Fort Mcmurray in northern Alberta. Much of that city was destroyed by forest fires 4 years ago, back in 2016. You know, the entire city was evacuated. Well, now they've got another problem. Not fire, but ice. Because of the ice breakup on several northern Alberta rivers, there's severe flooding. You see, the ice is jammed and it creates almost like a dam. And the water just keeps backing up, and this has happened about 10 kilometers upstream from the city. Evacuation orders have been issued for several neighborhoods in the floodplain. People with no place to go, the mayor is making sure they're put up in city hotels. There's also been reports of discoloration of tap water in several neighborhoods. You see, what happens there is the floodwaters come up so high that it overwhelms the water treatment system, and now you got dirty water mixing in with purified water. So Alberta Health Services has issued a boil water advisory for the regions, and this will remain in effect until further notice. Mayor Don Scott has also asked for help from the federal government, whether that's going to be from the military or I don't know. There's no details on that yet. We'll get them to you when we find out. Still to come, we have a story from Archie Rose Natividad about pitching in to help others, people pitching in. And we'll bring that to you in a moment. You're watching Eagle News Mornings from Canada. Watching Eagle News Mornings from Canada, I'm Thomas I. Likeness. Well, this started out as a simple act of kindness in BC. And as Eagle News correspondent Archie Rose Natividad reports, it has gone viral, no pun intended, and has grown into a much bigger community project.
Hi everyone, I'm Archie Rose Natividad, reporting for Eagle News, and today we have a special interview with Vanelli from Power of Three. Vanelli and her sisters had started an initiative in putting together COVID-19 care packages for the community. So we would love to just talk to her a little bit more about this, and here's Vanelli. Vanelli, please tell us a little bit about kind of, what was the inspiration and starting this campaign?
Yes, thank you, Archie Rose. I guess the inspiration was essentially the whole lining up process of getting groceries, something so simple, something we've taken for granted. We've never had such a struggle with it. And it was me and my husband lining up and seeing kind of the seniors lining up with us. And I kind of just thought, like, what if that was my Lolo or my Lola? Like, I can't imagine them going outside during these times. They shouldn't, but maybe they don't have a choice. So then I started thinking more about that side and how to help them. So then it started 2 weeks ago, which it's crazy. It feels like a lifetime ago. But I just told my sisters, like, hey, I want to do this. Are you guys on board? And they said, of course. And it just spiraled. It's like, all right, let's start. And yeah, it just a ripple effect. And it kind of just goes to show you how fast, how viral things, no pun intended, things can go. And then, yeah, we just started from there.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what actually goes into the packages and how you're able to allocate kind of what goes to what family and how many goes into what package? Tell us a bit more as to what goes into the packages.
Yeah, so the first round, I went crazy. And I was just like, oh, we're just going to get yogurt, we're going to get eggs and cheese strings and canned goods. And I just bought like a lot of stuff. And then we just kind of set it up and had the names. And it was like a learning as you go process. So canned goods for sure, spaghetti, like all that stuff, that hasn't changed. But what we did modify was kind of like, okay, too much refrigerated stuff. Like we lessened that down because we didn't want it to expire and to waste. So then we started doing the more focusing on canned goods and bag stuff. Of course, we have a lot of Filipinos is the demographics that it has been reaching. It's not obviously closed to them, but because it is primarily Filipinos, we've reached out to, Mcmurray's have reached out to us, and they donated pandesal and rice. So I was like, those are winners. And because a lot of times when people are like, oh, the care package, like what's inside, and they're not really familiar or want to get like the Western food, then once we start saying, oh, meron rice, pandesal, corned beef, and they're like, oh, okay, like that's something that we can do. Like, yeah. So there's corned beef, there's rice, there's pandesal, there's sardines, there's spam and vegetables and like little snacks, kid packs, and eggs and stuff like that.
Perfect. And then, with these care packages, how many, I guess, deliveries or how many care packages have you been able to start with, and then compared to what you guys are doing now, like the volume that you're working with right now? I believe there was a GoFundMe website also set up for this, right?
Yeah. So essentially, April 9th, I started the GoFundMe. I did say, like, I'm going to, like, front all of it, and if I can raise it, that's awesome. But if I was trying to do a lot of things at once. And so when I initially started that, I had my sister, Sammy Jo, on the flip side, also helping. She reached out to Bulacan. She's one of the directors on there to say, like, this is what's going to happen. Then they reached out to Sampaguita seniors, Migrante seniors, that their leads to kind of say, like, hey, there's a situation going on. Who do you think is actually in need of these packages? And so she did the more like networking to see who would need it. And then I did more of the funding and actually physically going to get the packages and the items. So the first weekend we had like 22, and we thought that was a lot. We were like, oh my gosh, like this is amazing. And that wasn't just seniors, that was also single parents too. So a lot, because we put it on Facebook, on Instagram, it's crazy how many people reached out to us and said, hey, can I nominate someone? Like they would never ask for help. And then people themselves nominated their own, like themselves. So then we got 20, and then a few days later we got 75. Because one senior, they live in an apartment, and then of course they talk and like, what's going on, like how did you get help? And then it just went crazy. And so now 2 weeks down, we're at 169
Amazing. Oh my goodness.
Completed and done, and at the same time, like the GoFundMe page was there, and the first few days we did $875, and I was like, yay, $875, and now I'm at 4,000 and counting, which is awesome because we definitely needed that because of course, like as viral as it went, the need for packages increased, as well as the need for funding was like hand in hand. So I'm really happy for like the support that we've been getting through the community, and so now we still have like 30 and on the waiting list, so to speak, and every like hour we're getting more and more just from different parties. They heard us from whatever avenue and they're asking if we can do something, and we put them like on a list, and
That's amazing, you know, for this initiative to have taken off as successfully as it is, you know, as there's this crisis that's going on, it's not only impacted, you know, a lot of people's health, but also in economically, you know, a lot of people are facing some economic hardship. Some are immunocompromised, some are single parents, some are seniors. You know, how has that, you know, seeing the impact of your actions and having helped, you know, these people, you know, how does that feel to be able to really get in touch with helping your community and helping really those in need?
We get very involved and we build relationships. So there's a whole, how we can't describe how we feel. We only wish we can kind of just thank everybody for their contribution, because for them it might be $5, $100, $200, and it's like they don't really get to see or hear the story of like, hey, we helped this single parent who was crying, you know, like just like I want to just thank everyone so much because our hearts are filled, because their hearts are filled, and they're so appreciative of something as simple as groceries, which is something again we took for granted, and now it's a necessity that isn't so easy anymore.
Now, how are people able to contact you? I know there's kind of just bridging the gap with kind of networking with the contacts of the Filipino community organizations, and people are also able to nominate you. So how do they go about with nominating families or individuals that need help?
Well, it's because like we're in 2020, there is so many ways. We get texts, like I put my phone number out, people have DM'd, like on Instagram, I've gotten messages that directly there. Also on the GoFundMe page, you can actually, there's like a contact button and it goes directly to me. I have my email address, the website. There's a lot of ways to communicate.
And then, you know, obviously, Power of Three, it's well known as this wedding planning, you know, company, and you've started this amazing campaign, this initiative, really in finding ways to help your community. Are there any plans of extending this even, you know, post-COVID-19 crisis? Are there any plans of really extending this type of initiative?
Definitely. And like me and my sisters, as much as we are event planning, we do a lot of non-for-profit and stuff. So we are heavily involved in the community, and that's kind of why we wanted to do something already, because we just felt like we had to, and because we could, it is our responsibility that we should. So in terms of going forward, it's definitely on the table. I don't know how it will look. It's kind of one of those things that's ever changing that we have to see how it could turn into, but very, very open to that. Because a lot of the seniors and stuff, they want to talk to someone. And I know that Dulacan is trying to do a phone bank situation where they have Tagalog speaking, where they can actually understand and speak back, where my broken English, which I'm very thankful for, my Taglish has gotten me through some awesome times. So that would be something that is going forward, like the care packages, and maybe a follow-up, like just to check in on them and ask them what they want to see.
You know, it's so great to hear, kind of, even though this moment can seem so dire and it can seem so unsettling, there's shining moments like yourself and your sisters and your family who really kind of stepped up to help everybody in the community. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for meeting with us, Vanelli. My name is Archie Rose Natividad Yi, reporting from the Vancouver studio for Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Very inspiring report. And if you ever doubted that one person can make a difference, watch that again, because one person did make a difference there. Well, today I want to salute a whole bunch of people in my city. You know, they all got together last night virtually to enjoy a movie. They were together, but they were apart. They were apart. You know, because we are law-abiding there. Up on the screen there, you can see our Ninang Merla Tumac there. She was among the ones that took in Guerrero Dawson. Here she is. You can see she's enjoying it with the crowd in her home. That's right. Everybody in the crowd was in their own homes, okay? This is life in the pandemic. And say, are you looking for something else to watch? Check out EBC Sports International Home Edition. There might not be any games on right now, but, you know, sports is like this. There's plenty of debate on the hottest sports topics. Age-old questions like, who's the greatest of all times? If I ask 50 people that question, who's the greatest? I'd get 50 different answers. Well, the gang doing the shows has interviews with athletes from all over the globe. You'll find it on our YouTube channel. That's Eagle Sports International Home Edition. Thank you for joining us today. Until tomorrow, on behalf of our Canadian news team, I wish you all good health. Take care of others. Take care of yourselves. Stay home, stay safe, and stay tuned to Eagle News for accurate and balanced coverage of the COVID-19 pandemic. In Edmonton, Canada, Thomas I. Likeness, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.